Hello and welcome to this recording from Nerd Central, in which I will be reviewing the Behringer Sonic Exciter SX3040. And the aim of this review is to show its effect on music. Now, to do that, I have picked a piece of Creative Commons music by Julia Katowski, which is called Roadkill. And because it's Creative Commons, it's okay for me to use it here, but I am going to be linking that back to her website. She is a very gifted musician, and I really like her music. So please do go listen, and if you get the opportunity to go to one of her gigs, do that as well. Okay, I'm just having to put the studio back together. Okay, now what you are listening to at the moment is my voice going through an AKG D200 microphone, which is an old microphone, but very neutral to try and get rid of any coloration from the microphone. And I've got a little bit of echo from a reverberator. I'm going to turn that off. So that's the absolute neutral inside your head sound with a little bit of compressor and a little bit of de-esser in the hope that it makes it a little nicer to listen to. Okay, next I'm going to switch this voice over to using the Sonic Exciter at the default settings that I generally use. Right, that's with the Exciter turned on, and that has two effects. One is down at the bass level, where it increases the depth and alters the phase of the bass of the voice or the signal to try and make it more resonant and fascinating. And it's also adding harmonic excitation and phase changes to the middle and upper frequency. Now, even with the de-esser on, that seems to be hissing quite a bit. I'm going to see if I can get the de-esser to... right, I had turn the de-esser right up, and that makes it a little bit pleasanter. So that illustrates one thing straight away, that the harmonic exciter is really starting to boost the upper frequencies. It produces harmonics that weren't originally there. If I turn that effect to maximum, it actually makes my voice sound quite harsh. So I'm going to turn the Sonic Exciter down a little bit. Now you can hear my voice is gone back to being a bit more normal, but just a tiny bit more brilliant than it was before. What I can do now is illustrate by turning up the bass effect. And immediately you can tell that it's done something fundamentally massive with the bass. It's nothing similar to a traditional graphic equalizer will do. It's much more associated with the kind of effects of valve amps or that kind of thing. It's doing a lot of resonance and it's doing a lot of phase shifting. Now what I can do is I can turn the maximum frequency of that. Now it's only doing its tricks to the very low frequency. It gets rid of that muffled sound, but it's adding a lot to the bottom of my voice. So we'll take the Sonic Exciter back out again. And that's what I sound without it. That's what I sound like with it. So now we can understand why we might want to have a Sonic Exciter. Well, that's probably enough of my voice. What I'm going to do now is start playing the music without the exciter in the chain. Now, that's being played into my system while I'm recording from a Sony S1 tablet off Google Music. So it's the sort of quality of sound we're quite used to listening to these days. It's arguing with my gate a little bit at that, so I've turned it up. That's better. So I can also turn this digital processor off. It's very little difference unless you start shouting. I was just using that for trimming things a little bit. Okay, let's turn that up, and then what we'll do is we'll mess around with the exciter. Okay, so I'm now going to turn the exciter back on at exactly the settings I had it on when I last spoke. Now that is different. Really punchy bass. And you can see so much so that my compressor's really cutting in to try and stop that overloading the system. What I can do is actually compressor a little bit. That's actually really thumpy now, so I'm not sure I entirely like that. So let's take the drive on the bass, the mix. It's a little bit more civilized. Now we can open up the mid-range. Drop the drive down a little bit. Now I think this is an MP3. It's going to have lost some of its top end, so we're going to put that top end back in by creating harmonics. Now I'm overdriving the middle a little, so we'll back off. This alters the point at which it cuts in. It might still be a little too bassy for some people. Could back this off a little. Or, to get rid of that thumb, what I could do is actually turn that right up and drop now those drums have opened up and are less thumpy and a more real drum sound. Can you hear the drums come out there? That's got rid of them. Let's put them in. So let's change the tuning on the high. So that's starting right in the middle. About, I don't know, a few hundred hertz. Now we're only enhancing very high frequencies. So let's put that back. Turn the drive back up again. Drop the frequency. There. So those are the kind of effects it's relatively easy to do with the sonic exciter. Now I'm going to really push out the boat. I'm going to take the limiter off and actually see what happens. I've got the peak limiter, so hopefully it won't cause too much trouble. Let's just take this whole thing out of circuit. There we go. Finally, if I find recording with the compressor turned off altogether quite frightening. I'll put that. That's actually helping bring out the middle frequencies, the middle volumes rather than the high volumes. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Now, finally, I know we're not messing with the exciter anymore, but I'm just going to turn this to a digital effect called maximizer. That's going to really try and drive this to the very limit of what can be done. So there we go. And then finally what I'll do, I'll take that back to the middle of that song. Maximizer off. Now we'll turn the sonic exciter off. That is such a massive difference, but very subtle. And the final thing I want to do now is to take the echo chamber or the reverberator back off bypass and see how that interplays with this. Now, to me on earphones, that's really opened that out to being playing in a massive room. As I've mentioned before, I'm not convinced that MP3s give anything like the quality of music that we deserve, and it is now pretty much my expectation that using equipment like this, I can make the whole MP3 experience so much more exciting. Now, parking that, what can I say about the Behringer? Well, I think you've heard that its impact on music is immense. Subtle, it's not, whoa, and it's making me hiss terribly, so I'm going to turn that down quite a bit because it's making me sound like Mr. Hissy. In fact, I might just take it out the circuit. Its impact on the music is immense. It's very subtle. It's not mucking up the music too much. It has plenty of controls. I prefer it to the previous version, the previous psychoacoustic processor that Behringer did. I think it's a more capable, and its bass processing is definitely much more manageable with the 3 controls. Thank you very much for listening, and cheerio.